Here's who I do view as a contender in the NFC. Not just a contender in the NFC, but the leaders in the clubhouse. What'd y'all do, Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions?
Kneecap.
Kneecaps were bitten in Detroit, Michigan yesterday when the Lions won 26-20 over the Los Angeles Rams in overtime. And what was a just spectacular game. Shout out to NBC for putting this game on Sunday Night Football. This to me, and I predicted it a week ago today on my season prediction show, this is your NFC Championship game. The Rams, we understood that they upgraded a lot of their positions in the draft. We understood that Matthew Stafford is still absolutely one of the 10 best quarterbacks on planet Earth. Cooper Kupp is still productive. I thought Cooper Kupp was kind of declining to a certain degree. My twin, by the way, according to John Rivera. Shout out to John. I thought Puka Nacua was going to be the Offensive Player of the Year. That looks like that just went up in smoke because he got hurt in this game and today got put on IR. But this is a Rams team that have backup offensive linemen. Missed Puka Nacua in the second half and took the Detroit Lions into overtime down to the wire. So I think the Rams are going to be fine. I think the Rams are going to win the NFC West. Respect to San Francisco. Great roster. I still think the Rams are going to win the NFC West. We'll see as the season progresses. But for Detroit, and this is what I love about the Lions. This is what I love about Dan Campbell, who I was really skeptical. That opening press conference kind of left you sitting back like, wonder how this is going to go. This is going to be just like any other Detroit head coach. He'll be gone in 2.5, 3 years. He may be fired after a Thanksgiving loss to the Bears. I mean, it may not last very long. And listen, we know the progression. They were bad in year one, lost a lot of close games. They improved in the second half of year two, year three last year. They went to the NFC Championship game, as I predicted the previous April. And this year, they're going to go to the Super Bowl out of the NFC, and here's why. That Lions defense, I thought, was exceptional all night long. Anzalone was everywhere. They're excellent linebacker. Aiden Hutchinson might have made the play of the game, where the Rams are in a third down, up by 3, late in the fourth quarter. And if they convert Matthew Stafford, who's throwing again to Cooper Kupp, Rams might bleed the clock out and win that game. In Detroit, Aiden Hutchinson gets just enough of a hand or enough pressure in Stafford's face to where he can't quite step into the throw the way he wanted to. He missed Cooper Kupp. Lions get the ball back. They tie the game and obviously win it in overtime. So that defense for Detroit, which was kind of their Achilles heel a year ago, I said they got better in the offseason, in the draft, in free agency, and you saw it yesterday. Carlton Davis was really good. You talk about Terry and Arnold, who they drafted, had a solid night. Detroit's got some really, really good players in that defense. I think they're going to finally put it together behind Aiden Hutchinson. But offensively, I don't think you can find 3 teams in the NFL, honestly, that know their identity and know who they are the way the Detroit Lions do. Jared Goff's an excellent quarterback when you give him a clean pocket. I've got him right now, or at least coming to the season. I had him as the 10th best quarterback in the league. Some may have him a little bit lower than me. I understand that. I think Goff's good. Give him a clean pocket, which Detroit generally does because they got the best O-line in the league. Jared Goff could be really, really effective. I freaking love Sam Laporta. I predicted before the year that I thought he'd be regarded as the best tight end in football by season's end. I think he's due for a monster season. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Jameson Williams, so I said this would be his breakout year. Long touchdown, was great last night. Finally healthy, finally on the field for week 1, and was excellent. But Detroit, more than anything else, and they resemble their head coach and what he wants to do. We are going to pound the rock. We are going to run it right down your throat. We are going to push you around. We're going to wear you down, and we're going to out-physical you for 60 minutes plus. If you think about overtime last night, we are going to play until the final whistle as hard as we can. Even when the Lions sucked 3 years ago, this year, that is all paid off. Look at the stat right here. I looked at this earlier today, and it's pretty mind-boggling. Detroit's a running football team. They're going to punch you in the mouth, and this stat shows it. Can we put it up there? On scoring drives. Here on scoring drives for the Lions. Okay? Detroit had 23 carries for 131 yards in the game. On non-scoring drives, 8 carries for 32 yards. Scoring drives, 23 for $131. Non-scoring drives, 8 for 32. And I think that's, listen, I think Ben Johnson is one of the premier offensive coordinators in the sport. But I thought in the second half, after that long touchdown to Jameson Williams put Detroit up 17-3, I did not think that this was a necessarily a well-called game by him in the second half, in that he went away from his run with a double-digit lead. I mean, we've criticized Kyle Shanahan for kind of doing that Super Bowls with the Falcons and then the 2 losses to Kansas City, going away from the run with the double-digit lead. That's kind of what Ben Johnson did. And I think winning the game in the fashion that the Detroit Lions did. I mean, that last drive, it was so Detroit. It was so Dan Campbell. This is how the last drive went for the Lions in overtime when they won the game. Khalif Raymond, 12 yards. David Montgomery, 21. David Montgomery, 9. And then Jared Goff threw a pass to Jahmyr Gibbs for 10 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, 3 yards. David Montgomery, 6 yards. David Montgomery, 8 yards. David Montgomery, 1 yard for the game-winning touchdown. And he, just kind of pushed through it behind that phenomenal offensive line for the win. If this team stays relatively healthy, we understand it's a long season. We got 4 months long in the regular season. Guys are going to get hurt. We get that. But if they can retain their key pieces for big stretches down the season, and last night was a huge game, rematch of the playoffs, Stafford's first regular season game back in Detroit, all the hype, Sunday Night Football. And that was a game where I thought the Rams, especially given the circumstances, couldn't have played much better than they did. I thought McVay called a good game. And Stafford and Kupp were darn near unstoppable in the fourth quarter. And Detroit just hangs in there. Aiden Hutchinson makes the play on Stafford. Goff drives him down for the tie. And then the running game just pounding the rock, hitting you in the mouth, just out-physicaling you, if you will. We're going to outlast you till the end. It's like a classic. Detroit's going to win games like a heavyweight fight. We're just going to go blow for blow for blow, and we can sustain them longer than you can, and eventually we're just going to beat you down. That was Detroit. And you saw the body. I mean, it was so funny. When David Montgomery scored, like anytime you see walk-off touchdowns in overtime, like what if you watch the defense, if it's a defensive back pass rush, maybe a guy will like slam his helmet, or guys will just kind of stand there, hands on hips, and they're just shocked that they lost the game. I was watching the Rams players when David Montgomery scored, and it was like they just kind of slowly walked off the field. Like, yeah, we just got we got, pardon my French, we got our ass kicked on this drive. I mean, there's no other way around it. So, very impressive win by Detroit. Great performance by the Los Angeles Rams. These are your 2 best teams in the NFC. I mean, not to spoil Bryson's best 10 on Wednesday's show, the Lions certainly aren't moving. I had Detroit at number 2 behind Kansas City. I'm not sure the Rams move it unless San Francisco wins by 20, 30 points or something. And even then, I think I'll still have to give the nod to the Rams. That was an impressive performance by Stafford and Kupp. And Detroit, that was a classic Detroit win. And I love when teams play to the identity of their head coach, when their coach sets an identity, sets the tone. This is who we are. This is what we're going to do. The GM, Brad Holmes, builds around that. I mean, it's hard. Listen, we know underdog stories, and it's week 1. We get that. But we know what Detroit did last season. It's easy to root for the underdog, for the little guy. But when the little guy and the underdog puts together a formula, and takes years, to build it, and they stay committed to it, and they know it's going to eventually turn out, but it's not working, but they stay committed to it. That's what Detroit, that's what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have done, and they've earned everything that they've gotten so far. And so, listen, I feel as good as ever. Listen, of course, I feel great about the Chiefs winning the AFC. They've won the AFC 4 times in the last 6 years? It was 5 years rather. I feel phenomenal about my Detroit Lions pick. Love it. Love it. Listen, the city of Detroit has been very kind to me in this stretch where I've been like almost like an adopted Lions fan. I can't call myself a Lions fan. I'm a Steelers fan, but a Lions supporter. God, that team's so easy to root for. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.